everybody? It's Rocky Magaña here on the Rapid Reaction Postgame show. Steven Serda is at a Aaron Rodgers-style darkness retreat this week, so he is not here to join us. But luckily, we upgraded. I got my boy Brian B. Shynin here with me to talk about this Chiefs game. Oh, my God, bro, holy shirt balls. Have you ever seen a game in that way? Like, I was just sitting in my living room, sipping on a little bit of whiskey, talking to my boy, and I was like, all right, well, the Chiefs there's no way, like you shouldn't be in the NFL if you don't make this game-winning kick right here, Will Lutz. Right. And then the Chiefs block it, and we're still undefeated, and there's a lot to talk about in this game. There was a lot of bad in this game, but holy crap, the ending, bro.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Much good. Have you ever seen the movie Adaptation with Nick Cage? Have you ever seen that movie?
Never seen it.
So in that movie, they basically say it doesn't matter what happens in the movie, wow them with the ending, and they'll forget about everything else.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about this game right here, dude. Like, okay.
I have a lot of emotion. I've never done a post game live. You know, you can tell the dog is feeling it too. Kingston is in here going wild too. But look, man, the only ending that I can compare to that, I think it was Raiders at Chiefs in 2006. Like Jared Page, he made a last second breakup to Randy Moss, and Arrowhead went crazy. But look, to have a block kick, a block field goal at the very end, and I'm looking, oh man, it's 8-1. We going into Buffalo. We on not looking too good or whatever. And then the block kick just changes the entire week. Like there's writers right now, like probably, rewriting their entire story about, next week's game and the outlook on the Chiefs. But man, what an effort. And it just shows that it's a total team effort. When the offense and defense could be down, the special teams can come on in and pick you right on up.
Oh my God. Like, this reminds me, like the improbability of this victory, only thing I can compare it to is that Halloween game years ago where Phillip Rivers fumbled the ball when they were trying to kneel it out, right? Remember that?
Yeah. The magical fireworks going off or whatever on that third down. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I compared this to. I have this whole entire outline written up, and I tell you what, I'm just dumbfounded at the moment. Like, I'm almost speechless. Like, okay, where the hell do we go from here? Because like you said, like bylines all across the city are being rewritten right now about this game. And let's not get it twisted. This was not a perfect game by the Kansas City Chiefs by any stretch of the imagination, which is crazy because most games you think where Patrick Mahomes mostly plays a perfect game, if Patrick Mahomes plays lights out like he did today, you think there's really no chance that the Chiefs are even going to be in the conversation of losing the game. But there's so much to talk about this game. So we'll let's get the emotions out. Let's get the oh holy crap, what did we just seize out of everything so that we can like actually break down this game like rational human beings instead of just being a couple of we're basically
Neanderthals.
We're basically just Neanderthals, like just screaming. We're like Swifties at a Taylor Swift concert right now, just losing our minds, just going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what do we just see? But I think if we're going to talk about this game, man, it has to start out with Kingsley Suamataia. Like, Wanya Morris goes out with a knee injury early in the game. And for the bulk of the game, Kingsley Suamataia is filling in. He hasn't played in a while because obviously when he was drafted, a lot of people said, okay, listen, he's probably not going to be ready for at least a year. He's going to need a redshirt year. And Chiefs are saying, hey, he won the starting job. And people are thinking, okay, that's cool. Maybe we're wrong. Then he plays against Trey Hendrickson, gets owned, gets benched. And then Wanya Morris has been the starting left tackle ever since, for better or worse. But then he goes down with an injury and Kingsley comes in. And Kingsley is a problem when he's in the game. Like, that's not like the story of this game up until that blocked kick was Kingsley Suamataia ruining a very good performance by Patrick Mahomes in this game. Just giving him no time whatsoever, whiffing on blocks to the point where Mahomes is like, you're like, man, like he's going to get Mahomes hurt out there if he keeps on taking all these hits, right? Like he just was not was not like he didn't look like an NFL ready left tackle by any means in this game.
So I put my football hat on and I'm like, what is the difference between Kingsley and Wanye Morris, or Kingsley in a pretty good starting tackle in the league, and why he isn't there yet? And I noticed that his footwork is just it's not there at all against, especially when they bring in pressure from the outside and they're playing wide. He's struggling with trying to get to those edges. But I noticed something in why he is an NFL, why he is in the league, and that's that when he gets his hands on you, you don't go anywhere. It's just a matter of him actually getting his hands on you. Because I noticed that it was kind of a stalemate whenever the Broncos defenders, when Kingsley would actually lock in and get his hands on a guy, they would just stand there and do nothing. There was nothing they could do. So there's a lot of work to be done with him. It is a cause for concern, especially when you go against a great head coach with an aggressive defensive coordinator with Joseph and Sean Payton, because when they smell blood, Rocky, they went after it. They kept going over and over and over and over. And and in the playoffs, that could be the detriment to this team and their three-peating. So that is a cause for concern going forward. Although we saw Wanye Morris was able to get back in and solidify things when he got back in. But man, we cannot afford an injury to that tackle position, man, at all. And Rocky, when I play football, I was offensive line, and these new offensive linemen and these damn face masks, bro. I'm blaming it on that. Okay, there's no reason why you and the quarterback should have the same face mask. But that's just a side football nerd opinion.
Brian's out here saying you need to have that Nick Lowry single bar going on right across.
No, they need the Willie Roaf, man. They need the wheel shields. They need the single bar with the multi bars going across, man, looking mean and menacing.
Yeah, just look the part, right?
Man.
Here's the thing I think with Kingsley that he oversets, right? Like you saw him get beat on that inside move multiple times because he hard sets the edge to try to get to the edge so he doesn't get beat, and then he can't change directions, right? Because he's cheating too much to one side and then he gets beat on the inside.
And that's surprising to me, Rocky. That I don't mean to interrupt, but I had to sneak this in here real quick, because the video that was going around when he was getting drafted was what? Of him being agile and jumping out of the damn swimming pool. So I'm thinking him being agile and being able to move wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I think it's because he gets out over his skis. He's top heavy in his balance, and he jabs. He jabs with his hands, trying to make contact. And he gets out over his skis, and then he can't readjust back. It's just things like it's like a baseball player, right? Like if one little part of your swing is out of hitch, right? Then you're out of balance, and he just hasn't figured out how to have that, like, to put his swing together yet. I honestly think he's like that guy that you draft all on tools, right? And then he just doesn't have it,
technique to go with it. And you kind of saw a little bit of that too when do you remember the play when he pulled out to the left and he kind of bumped into Kareem Hunt? You normally don't see that kind of thing with an Andy Reid offense. The linemen are more smooth, they're more fluid, they kind of get out there. And he needs a lot of tinkering. He's really raw. I just believe in patience, man. I really do. I like the fact that he's getting playing time, not the cause of it at all. We never want injury to anybody, but I was a believer in, I know it was going to be hard and we might have lost some games, but I like sticking with young guys. I really do. We saw it pay off in 2022 with this young secondary. This was a long time ago, but Herm Edwards did us a favor in 2008 in his last year. Remember when he played Carr, Flowers, Jamal Charles, Brandon Albert was a part of that draft class too, and they ended up mostly being pretty damn good players. So I think that sharks are born in the water, but man, it's about to be post Thanksgiving football now. And Kingsley doesn't seem to be looking better than what he did in week 2. Earlier in the season.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, you can play your young guys, but they got to develop, right? Like, they got to get better. Like you just mentioned it. It's about to be post-Thanksgiving football when the games start to get real and things start to actually matter, right? And you can't have your young guys making the same mistakes they made in the preseason, in week 17, 18 of the regular season, getting ready to make a playoff run. Right at that point, like David Bakhtiari tweeted out this weekend, yo, Patrick Mahomes, if your tech team beats us, then I'll come play left tackle for you. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't care if they beat you or not. Brett Veach, get on the phone and bring in David Bakhtiari to play the back half of this schedule, play the back nine, bro, because we need you.
For real.
Like that's like that. Like, I don't care if he gets injured 4 games into the season. We need 4 good games at left tackle.
Would you put it past Andy Reid and Veach to be like, hey, you got the Devontae Adams special, man. That hamstring is or the Sky Moore special, huh? Hamstring is a little tight. We might want to move you to, IR a little bit and get Bakhtiari up in here, huh?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that they could pull the Sky Moore special on him, and be like, hey, Kingsley, we're shutting you down for the year because you have a core muscle injury, right? And we're going to bring Bakhtiari in here. But besides that, Mahomes played a really good game today. Like, let's not get
under the circumstances.
Under the circumstances, he played a really good game. He did miss, as our boy Ron Cooley is putting in the comments here on Twitter. Never always spouting off with his takes. We love you, Ron. That he did miss Kelce on a pretty open touchdown. Pretty much, he was wide open for the touchdown pass. He
and Worthy
on the deep shot. He threw it out of bounds and got Worthy nicked up a little bit. So Mahomes wasn't perfect, but under the circumstances, he played a pretty good game, right? He moved the ball. He made some big plays. He scrambled a lot. And for the hits he was taking, he didn't get too skittish. He was still hanging in there, taking his shots. I thought, him and Kelce were simpatico today, with the exception of one miss where he thought Kelce was going to sit down in the zone, and then otherwise on the sail, when we sailed the touchdown pass, him and Travis Kelce were pretty much in sync. Travis Kelce sets the Chiefs record for most touchdowns by a Kansas City Chief, ties to the great Tony G for touchdown passes. And it's a small world, because there was a time and place where like in a parallel universe, Travis Kelce holds this record all alone by himself. And that's because when Tony G played for the Chiefs one day, I was meeting my friends down on the plaza for dinner. And it was like December. It was like the week before a game, the night before a game. And it was icy. And Tony Gonzalez walked right out of the shadows from his apartment and walked right in front of my car. And I slammed on my brakes and slid on the ice. And I nearly just took out his kneecaps right there in the ice in the plaza. This is right in the prime of his career, right? And so I would have been the most hated man. I would have been like Will Ferrell and the other guys when he accidentally shot Derek Jeter. I would have accidentally kneecapped Tony Gonzalez in his prime. And then as a result, Travis Kelce would have the record by himself. But I'm glad that he's tied instead of solely holding the record like he does in a parallel universe, because I'm like the most hated man in Kansas City because I accidentally ran over Tony Gonzalez.
You know what? I've always had a fear of that, Rocky, of getting the Chiefs in trouble or hurting one of the Chiefs. For example, I remember a certain Chiefs cornerback. I am not going to name this man's name, but he was suspended. Okay. Let's see, what year was this? About 2014 or so. He was suspended, and he was in the club with the reason why he was suspended, which was like drinking. And I'm like, what's up, bro? Is that a drink in your hand? What are you doing? So, look, man, I often think about that same scenario in different things myself. Like, what if if I'm next to Larry Johnson, what if I bump into him and he falls down the escalator and he tears his ACL or something? Knock on wood, hopefully that never happens to anybody. But I share those same fears with you, Rocky. I really do.
Another time, a drunk Carl Peterson walked right out in front of my car on the plaza.
Oh, hell no.
And I was like, at that point, though, this is like when King Carl was like in the doghouse. And I was like, oh, man, I shouldn't have stopped. I shouldn't have stopped. But I did. All right, let's get back to the game. We got an actual football game to talk about. None of this memory lane stuff, Brian. So Kelce ties most touchdowns in history, looking really good. It looks like the Chiefs have decided with this new DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce kind of attack and approach that they're okay with going long drives, going the length of the field, taking what's there. The Broncos had a really good game plan for DeAndre Hopkins today. They manned him up with Pat Surtain Jr. and Pat Surtain Jr. is an all-pro cornerback. And for the most part, he controlled DeAndre Hopkins and kept him from having a big game. Like DeAndre had a couple of nice catches, but he wasn't too much of a factor in this game. And they really limited, what the Chiefs could do in that aspect. I thought that the Broncos in general, their defense had a really good game plan for stopping Kansas City and for limiting them. Like they had like Antonio Pierce can talk about the Mahomes rules all he wants. They didn't work. They didn't exist. But Sean McVay had a game plan. He didn't have Mahomes rules where we're going to try to rough him up and get in his head. But Sean McVay and Vance Joseph had a game plan for how to limit the Chiefs and what they can do today. And it worked for the most part.
I thought it was two different games defensively for Denver. In the first quarter, first half or so, especially when Wanya Morris was in. I thought they were playing that Cincinnati Bengals 2021 AFC Championship game / Super Bowl 55 game plan, which was put everybody in coverage only and depend on your rushers, rush 4 and be patient, stay in your rush lanes. And they were able to do that. And the Chiefs didn't help themselves by throwing the ball all the time on first down. And that was bleeding out in the second half too, where you saw a lot of plays where on first down, okay, we need to reset and run the ball, but they couldn't. They steady passed the ball, and it was quick passes because Kingsley was in there at left tackle, and that changed the entire game. Going back to that and syncing these conversations together is that when Wanya Morris was out, the game plan completely changed for Denver because all of a sudden there's no more coverage. Now we're just going to blitz the hell out of you. Now we're going to man you up and attack. And damn it, it was working. So they were really keyed in and tapped in on what the Chiefs were trying to do offensively. And the Chiefs could not run the ball. They couldn't get the ball going on that ground, it seemed like, for the first 3 quarters or so. And speaking of that, when Carson Steele, man, he continues to disappoint me every week, Rocky. Today, there was Trent Green talked about it on a broadcast where Kingsley needed help on the left side, and it was probably called in a huddle, or Carson Steele was supposed to chip on the left side, but instead he goes to the flat on the right side, and a big sack is given up. So I thought it was 2 different game plans that Sean Payton had for Patrick Mahomes, and they both worked for pretty much the entire game, and yeah, the block punt saved everybody.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, literally it's crazy. Like all it takes, like so much hangs on like one play, right? Like you think about the Raiders being the Chiefs last Christmas, it was because Jack Jones got that pick 6, right? Like that was the big play. Like one big play changes everything, right? And I mean, you go from being super depressed and thinking you're just gonna, drink yourself to sleep tonight to like being like, I'm wide awake and I'm gonna drink because I'm happy, right? It's like one play is the difference between drinking because you're sad and drinking because you're happy tonight. And
was that pick 6 before or after that fumble? Because they scored those 2 touchdowns within like 10 seconds, and it ruined the entire game.
It ruined the entire game. And listen, I've kind of blocked it out from memory a little bit. I was like, listen, it's Christmas. I love my family. I love my kids. I'm not going to let this ruin the holiday like I want it to and just sit there and just be mean to my family for the rest of the day.
I was a Sour Patch baby. Christmas was ruined for me. It was no coming back from that, man, until New Year's or the playoffs or whatever. By the Dolphins game, I was better.
And so talking about the Broncos plan that they had coming into this, like they kind of had the plan that the Chiefs have had, for most teams. They gave the Chiefs a little bit of their own medicine, right? They said, we're gonna blitz you, we're gonna man up and take away your best wide receiver, and we're gonna make you beat us in other ways, right? And the Chiefs, for a lot of the game, they kind of struggled to do that. Luckily, they were able to come through there at the end, right, and get enough points, and then special teams came through with the huge play. Switching over to the defense, though, really quick, I thought that coming into the game, we were wondering, okay, there's two ways that Steve Spagnuolo can deal with Bo Nix here, right? And historically, with rookie quarterbacks, he either does one of two things: he either A, blitzes the hell out of them right off the bat, or B, he shows blitz and then drops back into like a cover shell, right, and makes them beat the zone and tries to out trick them and makes them throw into coverage. I felt like early on Spags was kind of going in that zone a little bit, and then he thought, nah, I'm just going to blitz the hell out of Bo Nix, and for better or worse, he's either going to beat the blitz or we're going to sack him. And Bo Nix did both in this game, right? Like there were plays where Bo Nix definitely beat the blitz, and he had some chunk plays and some big plays. But there were some other plays where obviously that big third down sack by Nick Bolton was huge, right?
Yeah.
Pushed him back almost 20 yards. That big sack, second down sack by Najee Johnson early in the game as well, where the blitz got home. So selectively it worked. But I would say on the whole, like the fact that the Broncos were able to move the ball in the fourth quarter and pick up the blitz and get to within 35 yards of a game-winning field goal, that thankfully it did get blocked. But I would say on the whole, it's hard to say because like on one hand, you're like, okay, even if they make that field goal, they have what? Was it 17 points on the game? Something like that? And
16.
so it's and so it's like they have 16 points on the game. So that's still a great defensive outing by any measure that you're going to have. But at the same time, you didn't get the final stop when you needed to, and you let them move the ball down the field late in the game, and they picked up the blitz and they made the big plays. So did the game plan work for Steve Spagnuolo? It's hard to say. Like, what's your opinion?
Well, I thought they did a great job of only giving up those few points they did in the first half. But I thought, was that a blown coverage on that first Broncos touchdown? I'm not sure if it was zone. I think Trent Green was saying there was zone coverage, but he wasn't all the way sure. But there was no one else around Bolton and that tight end who caught that touchdown. So I'm thinking that was kind of a blown coverage somehow on somebody's part, because if it's a zone down there, more than likely it's cover 2, maybe cover 3, and there was nobody around Bolton for at least 10 yards or whatever. He was wide open by himself. So I don't know if that's a blown coverage or not. The second Broncos touchdown, McDuffie, he got caught flat-footed, and that was a play where it was 3rd and short, 3rd and 1 or so. And I think that was a gamble play where Spags was like, okay, forget it. We're gonna blitz everybody, do a cover 0 type situation, leave my corners on the island, and McDuffie got beat. Second half, Broncos pretty much are shut down. And I think a lot of that is due to the Chiefs' game plan, more so on offense, keeping the ball away from Denver. But I thought Bo Nix, I thought he was great under pressure for the most part. Converted that huge third down to really milk the clock down to try to give the Broncos a chance to win it. And I thought he beat some of the blitzes that Spags was throwing his way. He did a great job under pressure for the most part. So man, and I wasn't looking forward to these games versus Bo Nix and Sean Payton, because Sean Payton, for as much crap as he gives, I think he knows what he's doing, functionality with the quarterback. I think he knows how to get them on the right path into where they can do what they need to do to move the ball. Now, as far as being excellent or being exceedingly great, like in the Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson tier of quarterbacks, not sure if he can get them there, but I knew it was going to be a tough game against these Broncos.
Well, and here's the thing. Sean Payton is going to have like a game plan, right? Like he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's a great coach. He's a smart guy. Whether or not you like him as a person, whether or not you think that he should be coached in the NFL because of Bountygate, that all is that's all up to debate. But if you're talking about it just of being a football mind, the guy's a smart dude. He knows football. Bo Nix is a coach's son. He's not afraid to throw the ball over the middle. He's not going to make a ton of stupid errors. He made one pretty dumb error where he just threw the ball up to nobody there on third down when the Chiefs blitzed, and luckily it fell to the ground helpless. But, I mean, that ball very easily could have been intercepted if the Chiefs could have got turned around and got their eyes on the ball. It seemed like nobody knew where that ball was going.
Yeah.
But these Broncos, as Bo Nix gets better and he matures and develops, they could be a problem down the line. They could be a tough game down the line. Like I think we saw here, they were a tough game today. Should they have been as tough as they were? No, the Chiefs should have outplayed them. The Chiefs were clearly, I think, the better team on the field today from a talent aspect. But they were very well coached. The Broncos didn't shoot themselves in the foot. They didn't commit a lot of turnovers. They played and protected the ball very well. They moved the ball methodically against the Chiefs. And I think the difference between Bo Nix and what we've seen from some of these Broncos quarterbacks in the past is his willingness to throw the ball over the middle and to stand in there and take a shot and to beat the blitz. I think that he's a smarter quarterback than the Chiefs have seen in quite a while from the Broncos. It's going to be, I mean, obviously he's still young and he's still developing, but down the line, I do foresee good things for Bo Nix as a professional quarterback. I think he does have what it takes. But then at the same time, let's not forget that the Chiefs are hurting in the secondary right now. Like Jalen Watson being out is a bigger problem than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And Najee Johnson coming back from a concussion. Najee Johnson wasn't playing great before he went out with a concussion. He didn't play great today either, but he at least makes a few plays here and there, right? But still, the Chiefs are opting in dime coverage to go with 4 safeties a lot of the time, right? You have Jaden Hicks and Chamari Connor on the field because they don't trust their cornerbacks right now. And that's a problem because people are safeties and not cornerbacks for a reason in the NFL. And it's usually because they're not very good at man coverage, which means that the Chiefs are going to be playing a lot of zone with guys who kind of lack a little bit of athleticism in the secondary.
You know, the sack by Najee Johnson, I loved it. There was another tackle by Chamari Connor that was just super aggressive. And that's one of the things that I love about the Chiefs defensive backs is the aggressiveness and how I look at it as like they're playing like linebackers a lot of times at the line of scrimmage, especially making open field tackles, which is essential to the success of this team and why this defense has been so good. I thought all things considered, and Rocky, I had to correct an error I made earlier. I thought the score was 17-16 Chiefs. We were just mesmerized by the blocked field goal. That it was actually just 16-14 Chiefs won. So Denver scored those 2 touchdowns in the first half and didn't get anything else. All things considered, that's pretty damn good pitching a shutout in the second half by that Chiefs defense. Now the defensive backs, they're gonna need some work, man. And it goes to my point earlier about letting sharks are being born in the water and playing those young guys. Hey, I don't know about you, but I think that we have another potential, maybe 2 or 3 defensive coordinators on this team. One in particular, to me, Dave Merritt. I think he's one of the best assistant coaches on this team, and I definitely trust him and his output and his resume, what he's been able to do with the defensive backs. You can count him up yourself in your head right now. But he's to me, he's a future defensive coordinator in the next couple of years or so. And I trust what he's going to be able to do with Najee Johnson and Chris Wallace, Wallace Roland Wallace. There it is. Many last names, man, but I respect the man enough to learn them. But with those guys, and then Joshua Williams, we know he's handsy, he's physical, he's a concern. But you know what? The thing with that though, Rocky, in the playoffs, it's a different type of refereeing that they do in the playoffs, to where you can get away with a lot of what Joshua Williams does. So I trust Dave Merritt and the coaching staff to get those young DBs together. I really do.
My issue with Joshua Williams is he doesn't always use his size to his advantage, right? Like he doesn't always, like he's a big, long, physical cornerback, and that is his strength. But then there's times where it's 50-50 balls, and you're like, bro, your body's completely out of position, and you're kind of like trying to reach around over a guy instead of bodying him up and just taking the football away from him. And so Joshua Williams, the guy's won 2 Super Bowls in his career. Like, I'm not going to sit there and begrudge a dude who's got 2 Super Bowl rings. Like, there's a lot of really good football players that have 0 Super Bowl rings, and Joshua Williams has played meaningful snaps in 2 Super Bowls. So,
and I was going to mention, look, Joshua Williams, AFC Championship game versus the Bengals 2022. If he doesn't tip that, was it him tipping it to Brian Cook or Brian Cook tipping it to him? I can't remember. But he was in on that play to end the Bengals and advancing the Chiefs to go against the Eagles.
Listen, I agree with you. But over the course of a season, you need consistency. You don't need highlights. Yep. Right? There's a difference. It's like when you're scouting a player, are you watching the tape or are you watching the highlights? Right? Yep. Like, the highlights are great. We love the highlights. But over the course of a season, if you're only living and dying on highlights and not on the rep to rep footwork and body positioning and able just to cover a guy so that the ball never comes his way, like, that's the problem, right? It's not the highlights, it's everything else. Yep. But real quick, I just want to touch on, because the Chiefs did have quite a few injuries in this game. Most of them, they came back. Like, early on, Kareem Hunt tweaked his knee and he quickly came back into the game. I think that it's something to monitor, because in the past, Andy Reid has talked about Kareem Hunt needing to ice his body because he's been taking so much damage. And they mentioned on the broadcast that Kareem Hunt is averaging the most touches of any running back in the NFL per game right now. Like, the Chiefs are riding Kareem Hunt for better or worse right now because they're so shorthanded at wide receiver, right? Because they have DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce, and that's about it. They don't have hardly any depth at running back, right? Like, Carson Steele is all they got otherwise right now at running back, and then Samaje Perine, but he's a receiving back. You're not going to hand the ball to Samaje Perine, more than a few times a game. So the Chiefs really can't afford to lose Kareem Hunt at this point. And so I think it's something to monitor if that knee tweak is just something, just like a little, like it was, like it seemed to be because he came back in the game, or if it's something that's going to linger over the next couple of weeks or get worse with, as the season wears on. And then Wanya Morris, like, you have to think that Wanya Morris was playing in pain when he came back in, right? Like, he wouldn't have been out for 2+ quarters if he wasn't in pain. And then the fact that he came back out there, you have to think that they were like, Wanya, like, I know you're hurt, but a hurt you is better than this train wreck we're getting from Kingsley right now. Like, we saw this from Nick Allegretti in the Super Bowl, right? Like, the dude played the entire game with a torn labrum in his arm because the Chiefs needed him to. We don't know how serious Wanya's injury is, but I guarantee you, if Kingsley didn't play like a damn saloon door out there, just swinging every back and forth every which way like a turnstile, that Wanya would not have come back into this game today. And so there has to be some concern there. Like, is it going to be something like what's the level of seriousness of Wanya Morris's injury?
Yeah, you mentioned Kareem Hunt earlier. And look, there was a play where he thought about this, Rocky. I don't know if you saw this, but he thought about trying to hurdle one of the Bronco defenders. He thought about it. He said, this year 8 in the league. What is it? He's 30, right? 30, 31, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, no more hurdling for Kareem, especially when he's getting 22, 23 carries per game. But he said,
I'll leave that shit to Saquon, bro.
Right.
Saquon Barkley do that shit.
Yeah, man. Wow, what an athlete he is. But with that being said, Kareem Hunt, man, I know Hopkins, they all work together. Hopkins, Hunt, Kelce, they all work together to make each other better. And when one is out, it's kind of tough on the others to be productive. And today you kind of saw that when Kareem Hunt really couldn't get going. And yeah, there were plays made down the stretch with Hopkins and Kelce. But man, that not having that running game there, it totally like isolates the offense. That's the best word I could put it in. It totally freezes them. Like they can't move the ball. They all of a sudden, Patrick's getting sacked and it's 3rd and long and 2nd and long. You're behind the chains every single drive. And so that would be a big cause of concern for me if Kareem Hunt is able to miss any amount of time, because we can't depend on Carson Steele. He fumbles. We seeing mental errors. We're seeing mistakes where Patrick can't trust him on the field. Samaje Perine, I think he's reliable in what he does on 3rd down and what he's able to provide with chipping. I think you can depend on him. He knows where he's going to be. At all times. You don't have to worry about mental errors or anything. Now, are you going to get any like big fantastic plays out of Perine? No. But when you get a big 3rd down conversion like what we needed today with Patrick Mahomes had to escape out of something and he got it to Samaje Perine, yes, he can make those type of plays. So, but beyond that, who else can the Chiefs depend on that running back until Pacheco gets back? And you have to ease Pacheco back in. When Pacheco comes back in a few weeks, hopefully, we can't feed him 20 carries. We can't feed him probably no more than 15 carries. I would think, trying to reinsert him back into the offense. So running back, man, it's essential to this offense and how it's moving and how football is being played now this year. So, man, and Wanya Morris being out with any amount of time would also be a concern, like our conversation earlier. You got me thinking, man, with David Bakhtiari, I don't know. I don't know if there's any room left under that salary cap, but I trust that Veach can make something happen.
Hell, bring him in for half a season at the league minimum. At that point, you're paying homeboy $600,000 for the rest of the season. Like, you could free that up. You could find $600,000 somewhere. You got that in the couch cushions if you're the chief salary cap gurus.
We got to have Jody Thorson restructure.
Yeah, something like that, right? To have somebody restructure. I guarantee you Patrick Mahomes would restructure $600,000 of his contract to get David Bakhtiari in there to protect his blind side for this Super Bowl run. But like, I mean, there's so many things to hit on this game that we haven't necessarily even hit on. Like, I felt like the Chiefs front four played extremely well. Like Chris Jones was a menace in this game. Josh Uche, and like you like to see on 3rd down that you saw Chris Jones, Joshua Uche, and George Karlaftis all in the game at the same time. That's a pretty dynamic like front four pass rush that's going to get home and cause some trouble as the season goes on. And so, yeah, especially if Omenihu gets back, can you imagine if you have Joshua Uche, Charles Omenihu, Chris Jones, and George Karlaftis as your 4-down rushing linemen on 3rd downs? That's going to be awesome. That's going to be a problem for opposing offensive lines. It's going to be the reverse of what the Chiefs currently have on the offensive side of the ball. So yeah, I mean, so like just seeing kind of that get deployed a little bit today, I thought was really, really fun to watch.
Yo, Josh Uche was out there looking like Frank Clark a little bit, baby. I think it was the end of the 2nd quarter, end of the 1st half. He was out there almost getting to the quarterback. But no, the Chiefs need as many D linemen as possible. Keep them fresh, keep a rotation. And there was a play. I love that you brought up the DNs, because there was a play that King Felix made where he just stayed home. He stayed home, and Denver was trying to string one of those runs out to the left side. He stayed home, and it ended up being like a loss for 2 or 3, a TFL. It's plays like that put when the Chiefs can get the offense behind the chains and get them struggling and get them in passing situations, and then those DNs can really get after it. Please, good luck.
And here's the other thing too that we seem to understand. Like, if the Chiefs don't have Andy Reid as their head coach and they don't have Steve Spagnuolo as their defensive coordinator, they don't win this football game, especially as a coordinator. Like you saw Andy Reid do so many small things in this game to offset the fact that he had no left tackle on the field for the majority of the game. Like when you saw Kingsley just whiffing, rep after rep, and just Mahomes scrambling, running for his life, getting lit up on the blind side, what did he do? Okay, he ran a screen pass to that side. Okay, he ran a blitz speeding pass to that side. Okay, he had P Ryan come out and chip to that side. Just the small things like running a screen to that side or a blitz beating quick out to that side. What that does is it causes the defensive end to stop and think for a second. It makes them double guess and not just pin their ears back like a rabid, cheetah or whatever, just to go after the quarterback. It makes them think, oh, wait, do I need to step back into zone and try to bat this down? Do I need to worry about pursuit of the running back here in order to prevent this from turning into a 15-yard play? I can't just run past this student and destroy the quarterback every single time. And so the fact that Andy Reid is able to make those in-game changes and also have it in his bag to say, all right, this is what we're going to dial up to offset this. And you see Andy Reid do this week after week after week. Last week, Chiefs interior offensive line was getting blown up by Kalijah Kancey and Villa. What's he do? He runs it down their damn throat with Kareem Hunt doing the exact same thing. How do you stop defensive aggression? You run directly at it. You run plays directly at the defensive aggression in order to offset it. And that's what Andy Reid did today. And it's probably the only reason why the Chiefs were able to win this game.
Yeah, thank God. As soon as the adjustments were made, like you said, there were screens, there were screen blitz beaters, quick routes. It was quick adjustments, man. And thank God that he's not the same old Andy Reid he used to be. Like, because I couldn't imagine Kareem Hunt getting what was that? He got 28 carries or whatever a few weeks ago. I couldn't imagine the old Andy Reid handing the ball off like that. Or what you saw last week against Tampa Bay when he just kept running the ball. I know a lot of that had to do with the field conditions, probably, and the weather, but it was also strategy too. And today you saw it in the coach's seat. It was a great chess match between these two legendary coaches. It really was. I love those things because it's a psychology type deal. Okay, since they're doing this on third down, okay, do I need to switch up and do this? If they're in the zone, okay, do I run this play? There's so many little things that you're mentioning that Andy Reid has perfected now. Especially, it doesn't hurt when you got a quarterback who comes in the clutch, who makes you look like a genius too, when Patrick Mahomes, so you could be a little free with your gambles and stuff. But I love to see these chess matches and the slight adjustments that are made during the game, because the Chiefs have shown that, yeah, all right, show me what you got in this first half, but we're going to take it to the locker room, and we're going to look at our Windows pad, and we're gonna see what you're doing, what you like to do. We already know the things that you've been doing because we got you on tape. But now it's just a matter of figuring it out now, what you like to do this week. And the Chiefs pretty much for the well, they're still 9-0. So every game they have adjusted and made the correct corrections to win the game, dog. And it's coaching, man. You said it. Won it in the coach's seat today.
We're sitting here talking, and we're asking ourselves, me and Serda last week, and then me and my boy Kramer over at Beach Season, we've been talking. We're saying, okay, so what's the trip up game for this team, right? That keeps them from going undefeated. Like, what's the trip up game where they go out there, they don't play to the best of their ability, or things don't go their way, or something happens and they end up losing the game? Like, was this the trip up game? And they just. And we
still got a couple more tough games left now. We got Buffalo next week. You still got
a couple tough Christmas. Games. But tough games aren't trip-up games. Like, if we lose a tough game, that's one thing. But a trip-up game is losing a game that you should win. And we always lose a trip-up game.
You got Cleveland. Still got Cleveland on the schedule.
Man,
Chargers Sunday night.
You're a big believer of Jameis. I'm still in my crab legs, Winston.
No, it's not that. It's just the Chiefs lost to the 1-15 Chargers in 2000. Okay, so the Chiefs lost. The 2016 Chiefs lost to the Titans. I was at that game. And speaking of Jameis, they lost to Jameis that year in 2016 when the Buccaneers came, and the Chiefs were like 12-4 that year. So those are two of the Chiefs' losses that year. The Texans, they lost to the Texans that year too, but the Texans were pretty good. But anyway, with all that being said, look, we've seen trip-up games from this team. Prime example, 2003, the Chiefs started out, I want to say 8-0 or 9-0. Who did they lose to? The Bengals. Look at the Bengals that season. They were not a good team. I think John Kitna was their quarterback. When they had Carson Palmer his rookie year, he was sitting on the bench. That was not a good Bengals team that they lost to. So, yeah, the Chiefs are no stranger to these trip-up games. I didn't think today was going to be that type of game where we could call it a trip-up game, because to me, Denver is a desperate football team trying to fight for that 7 seed in the playoffs. So, I mean, us beating Denver today only helps the Bengals if that gives anybody any laughter. So,
well, you had to ruin the victory, didn't you? You just had to ruin the win by saying that we helped out the Bengals today.
We did. The Bengals were cheering for us today because they have I think the Bengals are 4-6. So this makes Denver 5-5. So it keeps the Bengals kind of in striking distance of trying to get that 7 seed. I'm telling y'all, them Bengals, they're not going nowhere. They're not. Nah. They're going to sneak their way into the playoffs.
They're not going nowhere in the sense that, they're going to hang around, but they're also not going anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true too.
Come on, they're not going nowhere, period. They're just kind of treading water.
Bro,
exactly where they are.
It could be 7 in the second round, bro, depending on how it shakes out. Like, if the Bengals get that 7 seed, if they win in the first round, they could be seeing the Chiefs in the divisional round.
I hope so. Mark it on the calendar. Gosh dang it. I hope we play the Bengals in the playoffs because I want some damn vengeance. I'm bloodthirsty. I want to send those effing chili eaters back to Cincinnati.
That chili's not good. That chili in Cincinnati is not good.
It looks
my
like
wife is from Cincinnati. Okay, look,
yeah,
it's not good, y'all.
It's nasty. All right, before we get out of here, let's take a couple user comments. And before we get right on out of here. All right, so we got from our boy, hey Momo. Are the Chiefs inevitable? Who have praising special teams on their bingo card this week? I mean, it almost seems like it's one of those things where they are inevitable, right? Like something is going to fall their way to give them the victory because they put themselves in the position for things to fall that way. They put themselves close enough in order to make up one play that decides the game. And then when you've been there before, championship teams make those plays. That's the difference between a good team and a championship team is when you need one play to win the game, the championship team gets the block. The championship team breaks up the pass in the back of the end zone. They convert on 4th down to score a touchdown to Travis Kelce. Like that's the difference between a team that makes it to the AFC Championship, 4 times in a row, and a team that wins Super Bowls.
Oh man, I got this in my notes. I'm glad you tapped on that. Andy Reid going for it on that 4th down because the Chiefs have a sense of when to do things. And I thought then was the correct time to do it. Chiefs were down 14-3. The hell is a field goal going to do for you? And momentum, man, is such an essential part of football and how teams perform after or before momentum. So the Chiefs get that touchdown. You snatch the momentum from Denver for the most part. Although you're still down 14-10, you know that you could go down and you could score on these guys, man. So it's when these things are happening. It's when the Chiefs get these crucial 3rd downs. It's when in the second half, per se, when the Chiefs can just eat up the clock and convert those 3rd downs and then just bleed your team to death. So, and it's when you block a big field goal to seal the deal to win a game. So yeah, man, championship teams do championship things in championship moments.
Yeah,
not a championship moment today, but they won the game. I kind of overstated that.
It's a division game. It's important. Payback for Elway and Manning.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I got all these other fan bases that are saying, "Oh, the Chiefs are so everybody's over the Chiefs winning."
Please,
blah, blah, blah. No apologies.
Please,
no
zero.
apologies. we lived through this shit as grown-ass adults
Yes,
for
and
long
kids.
enough. Yeah,
And
kids.
preteens.
Yes,
Okay?
yes. Literally, every year, the Chiefs would disappoint.
And you know what?
We didn't have a quarterback or a coach. We had a
Preach.
coach that couldn't coach in the playoffs.
Hey, Jim Nance brought up the fact that Denver hasn't won here since 2015. Where were you during that game? Do you remember that game?
I do remember that game.
Jamal Charles fumble.
Yeah, no, I was at home, and I remember the first half of that game. The second half of that game is a little fuzzy, if I'm being honest, because I mean, my old boy Johnny Walker and me went for a bit of a walk that day.
Man.
A long walk.
Yeah, big tab on him, huh?
Yeah, so
yes, sir.
You know, the second half of that game is a little blurry, so I wasn't too disappointed in that game because I woke up later on that night.
Well, let me refresh your memory real quick. It was some bullshit because Jamal Charles fumbled. Denver scores a touchdown and they win. That's how they won that damn game. That's the last win they got. I was 30 years old at the time, a fresh 30. So yeah, man, a lot has changed, and I'm just
young man back then, Brian.
Oh man, the good old days. But I'm so glad they're like 12-year-old Brian is elated that the Chiefs' dominance, they got one win in 9 years against us last year. Okay, fine. But this dominance over Denver, bro, it's unheard of. And the Chiefs dominated the Raiders like this in the 90s. The Raiders only won like 3 games in the 90s, period. So I'm loving this. I'm loving this dominance over Denver. It's beautiful.
Oh, 100%. I would never, ever, ever feel bad about feeling good.
Zero.
About my team winning. And then last one before we get out of here, our boy, good friend of the show, JC Proctor says, don't stop believing. Don't stop
journey,
believing.
Baby.
That dude, the 3-peat is loading. I still feel just as confident in this team as I ever have. And listen, this was probably one of their worst victories of the year. And they should have lost this game. And the reason that they won a game that they should have lost makes me believe that this team is going to win the Super Bowl again, even more, right? Like my faith in this team and the inevitability of them being the first team to ever 3-peat in history is at an all-time high following this game. And maybe it's just the emotions talking, and maybe it's all a lie, and I'm going to end up falling flat on my face. But I'd rather fall from 1,000 feet in the air, believing in my team, than looking up at everybody else having fun at their third championship, wishing that I had been along for the ride the entire time.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of work left to do, but Chiefs are certainly on the right path. What I believe to be is the toughest game left on the schedule at Buffalo. It's going to be a barn burner next week, man. Chiefs better bring the A game. You can't afford to be having minimal mistakes or any type of turnovers or anything going into Buffalo next week. They're hungry. They think they can beat us. They think everybody in the league has just discounted them. Rightfully so. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one next week. But let's enjoy this one for about another hour. And then let's turn
back to work. Yeah. It's back to work. Hey, all right, Brian, dude, that's all we got. We're going to get out of here. Dude, thank you so much for joining me on this post-game show.
Appreciate
Bro,
it.
when you going to come on Beach Season?
Let me know, man. When let me know. I open my Palm Pilot and we'll set it up for real.
We get wild over there. It's a hot ass shit show. I'm not gonna lie.
You calling my name, Rocky? Let's go.
It's a good time. All right. So what you got before we get out of here? What do you got going on? Hit the people with what they can find you doing.
Hey, Foolish Club Media. We got Brian's World Podcast. It drops every single Wednesday at 4 p.m. I'm going to be dissecting this game. B Shynin's Bets is looking to have a pretty good week. So if you want to make some money, tap in for that. I do a fit check where I tap into my favorite uniforms of the week, plus a special guest interview where we talk about life, Chiefs, and whatever else is on my mind in Brian's World, courtesy of Foolish Club Media. Of course, every single morning on Hot 103 Jams, Hustle and Shine in the morning for my music side. I got multiple sides.
Don't forget to slam that Z.
Don't forget that, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget to slam that Z. I grew up on the Quiet Storm, bro. The Quiet
Oh
Storm.
man, I know you. I know. See, that's why you got that smooth voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Pause. But
yeah.
I'm just.
We're talking back in the Keith
yeah.
Sweat days on the
Okay.
Quiet Storm, dude.
See, Rocky, I know your black book was thick back in the day. I know it was, dog. I know you a player.
I tell you what, man. You don't hate the player, hate the game. That's all I can say.
What's your favorite cologne, real quick? What's your favorite cologne?
My favorite cologne is Gucci Eros.
Oh, look at you shopping at Macy's. Okay, Rocky,
yeah.
I see you. Pop your collar.
I wait till my wife buys it for me for Christmas, and then I make it touch out the entire year.
Yeah, man. Okay, I see you, Rocky. Man, beach season is gonna be cracking.
Yeah, it's always cracking. All right, so we're gonna get out of here. He's Brian B. Shynin. I'm Rocky Magaña. Yo, we got the Daily Fix also with Ron Hewley. Watch out for beach season this week as well.
Let's go, Ron.
As always, thank you so much for your support. And we pray, we hope that we earn the privilege of your time today. Love each other, love everybody else, and be a source of positivity in the world. We'll talk to you guys soon.